mysterious death curse washes over the land, driven by a powerful artifact known as the Soulmonger. 4 would-be heroes have been sent to the jungles of Chult to destroy the cause of this terrible affliction. Vale, the half-elven paladin, who's just now learning of his divinely granted powers. Ubo, the turtle monk from a distant land, who's as quick with his wit as he is with his staff. Relinia, Aasimar warlock, sent on this quest by her temple, discovering herself in this strange new land. And Gunslinger Cole, tiefling artificer and archaeologist who may just dig up more than she bargained for. This motley band of adventurers must work together to brave the poisonous plants, venomous monsters, thundering dinosaurs, and rotting undead of the jungle. Join the omnipotent dungeon master Jake from Mini-Terrain Domain to see if our heroes can find the Soulmonger, uncover the deeper mysteries of Chult, and free the world from the death curse. Welcome to the jungle. Welcome to Chult of Personality.
Well, hey there, internets, Twitch, and what have you. This is Mini-Terrain Domain, MTD&D, Chult of Inspiration. Nope. Chult of Personality. I don't even know who we are anymore. One of my cameras is cutting out. But that's okay. Sorry for the technical issues. OBS is being a pain in my butt. So, regardless, we're here. It's been a few weeks because of the Christmas and the New Year's. But we are now past that. And we are back at it. I'm just making sure my other stuff on the stream's still working. We look good. Okay, you guys lost the camera for Skype, but that's okay. Don't worry about it. All right, so these 4 adventurers who are right up here, we've got Drake the RPG Construct playing Ubo the Turtle Monk. Down here, we've got Mike the Piper playing Vale Istafal the Half-Elf Paladin, and it looks like he dropped out momentarily. Over here, we've got Marquise from Point to Inspire playing Gunslinger Cole, Tiefling Artificer. And up here in this corner, we've got Megan from Dice on Ice playing Berlinia, the Aasimar Warlock. And it's nice of you to join us back again, Mike.
Fucking Canadians.
So, long story short, hired by the woman Sylvain to find out about the death curse in Chult, something called the Soulmonger, that is making it so that anybody who has ever been resurrected has begun wasting away. It has also made it so that there can be no resurrections. Causing quite a bit of a problem throughout the Forgotten Realms. So they have been sent down to Chult to investigate. They've participated in dinosaur races in Port Nyanzaru. They have ran into a few of the locals, including Mr. Volothamp Godarm himself, who Gunslinger Cole was lucky enough to purchase an autographed copy of his book. They hired a ship. Well, they hired a guide, then hired a ship, headed up to Fort Beluarian on the pretense of getting a charter of exploration. They were waylaid by these 3 hag sisters. And then they went on a side mission to find the so-called Chultimus. And Marquise, what were the names of the 3 hags?
I don't know the names. I don't want to know the names. They had no names.
So as a refresher, their names were Mary Chultimus and the Chultimus Carols. A good old Christmas pun there. Marquise loves that. He loves those, so there'll be plenty for him throughout this game.
Jesus.
They found out that Choltimus was actually Artis Cimber, an adventurer, a long-lived adventurer, who is looking for the lost city of Mesro, along with his beautiful woman, his bride, who has been missing for a long time. While in conversation, and after giving them all Choltimus gifts, the three hags showed up, having followed them, assassinating the grung that were serving as guides for Artis. And he said that he would deal with them, and he sent them running off into the tunnels. And that is where we left off, as you have hightailed it out of there. And it's important to note that in the last session in particular, during this encounter with Artis Cimber and Choltimus, and Artis, who also sent his companion, Dragonbait, Asariel, with them, Ubo had some residual effects from the hag magic and spent the entire last session in tiny baby sea turtle form. But Berlinia has been taking care of baby Ubo. And that's where we pick up, as these adventurers are now running through the tunnels, as the sounds of violence and magical spells erupting disappear in the distance behind them, echoing faintly through the caves. You begin running and running through these caves. What is going through Gunslinger Cole's mind?
She's fucking pissed is what's going through her mind. She's pissed because she's disappointed. She's pissed because she's failed herself again. She's pissed because she's met yet another person in her life who trusted her and who she looked up to, and who she's now had to abandon for some reason or another. She's pissed because she remembers the Grungs, a young native civilization, if you can really call it a civilization. These people, these aboriginals of Cholt, they're precious, they're building themselves up, and they're being massacred by these hags just for a magical artifact, a ring of all things. She's pissed because she was powerless to do anything, because he said that she was too weak, essentially to stay back and help him, because he wanted to be the hero. He wanted to make sure that he could be the martyr for them. And she's pissed that she ever listened to her three comrades about making a deal with these bastard hags who have now taken another 8 lives. So, to sum it all up, she's pissed.
Vale, what about you?
Currently, Vale is simply running, listening to the battles going, like, just moving further and further away. I would just be scared. I'd be afraid. I'd be looking back, making sure that my friends were still around, if they were even behind me. But I'd just be running and hoping that whatever fight is happening, it can be kind of quelled off in the distance while we make our escape, because we can't take on those hags.
Berlinia, how about you?
I think at first, Berlinia had this just very quick fight or flight moment in which all reason, all thought other than just of what to do in that moment for herself was gone. But as she's running, the more rational, the less like animalistic thoughts come into her mind. And I think the biggest emotion that would come out is confusion. things are so complicated here. The good don't always come off like they're good, and evil don't always, it's not as black and white as she thought. And as she runs, she's just trying to wrap her head around the situation and what they've gone through, and what she could have done differently in that moment. And her mind turns to Cole, because Cole was suspicious all along. And Cole, she knew. She had that sense, and that is just kind of mind-boggling to Brilinya right now.
And as you're having these thoughts, Brilinya, a second layer of not so much thoughts, but emotions begin to seep into your subconscious. Drake, what emotions would Brilinya be experiencing right now?
It's really hard to say as far as to describe it in words, but it would be sorry, I wasn't prepared for that. It would be just this feeling of giving up. Oh. Hold on one second. Let me turn. Is that better? No? Is that better now?
A little bit. I don't know what happened, but you sounded like you sucked on some hydrogen.
I like your deep voice, so keep it, because that's Ubo's deep voice.
What
All
about,
right, let's roll with it.
What about this? Is this one better?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Sorry. That's really loud in my ears. No, Megan, you would be feeling like just as if you just wanted to stop. As if you just wanted to stop where you are and just give up. Just feeling this heavy kind of burden on your shoulders, thinking, why am I still trying? We're just going to fail anyway. It would just be getting so heavy on your shoulders, and as you take each step, it would get worse and worse.
Brilinya, roll me an insight check.
I got an 8.
Okay. Continue.
I think at that moment, with this feeling just kind of overwhelming her, I think she would actually stop. And just kind of like stand there like a deer in headlights, eyes wide, just frozen.
And the rest of you would kind of hear this sound, this kind of as Brilinya stops, Salida runs into her, kind of collides with her, not expecting her to suddenly stop. And then behind Salida, Dragonbait comes to this kind of screeching stop as well. And you kind of catch, Brilinya, as this happens, you catch a scent of brimstone on the air. And Salida kind of harshly, "What is it? Why have you stopped? I do not think we are far enough away from them."
And Jake, how's the volume, by the way? I switched the gain.
Volume's fine.
Okay. As she runs into her and she hears Salita say that, Megan, you would have these images kind of flashing in front of your eyes. Images of this beautiful tropical island, of this giant dragon turtle, of Ubo walking, seeing all of these other turtles that look very similar to him, all of them wearing these bright orange cloaks, and Ubo standing there, the only person without one. That group cheering, and Ubo walking with his head hung low along the beach, with the sound of those cheering turtles getting lower and lower. And you would again just these images of Ubo incredibly down, depressed, in different instances where he's failed, probably half a dozen, and you feel what he felt at that time.
And Berlinia would just kind of keep just shaking her head, her eyes just kind of tightly squeezed, and she would hear Salita and just look back at her with just this confused but also kind of showing all the expressions that you were saying that she had felt through Ubo, and just this cloud. But she would kind of look back and she would, yes, and she would begin running again, but slowly at first, her feet dragging.
And you would feel Salita's hands kind of on your shoulder, between your shoulder blades, kind of urging you to move quicker. And then after a few minutes and seeing that you're keeping pace, Salita would... Well, Cole, are you kind of behind this group? Are you in front of the group?
Cole's in front of... Well, she was behind the group. I imagine she ended up in front of the group, right? Just because, like, how angled... I imagine at this time she would have stopped and she was going to reach back and, like, grab Bryn by the hand and start pulling her until she started running by herself.
And as she kind of begins to run on her own, Salita... And you kind of separate from her. Salita kind of starts running alongside you and kind of... She does that thing where she picks up the pace just subtly enough that you almost subconsciously are keeping pace with her, Cole, to just put a few extra feet in front of the rest of the group. And she just kind of leans over towards you and she says, "There is something that is going on with her. I don't know what it is, but you need to keep an eye on her."
Cole shoots a look to Salita, and then she shoots a look over her shoulder back to Bryn, who I imagine is too distracted to see the look. And she whispers under her breath, "Bashaba," and she just keeps running, taking a mental note and nodding to Salita.
We will need to keep this pace up for a little bit. I can only assume that man, Artus, can hold off those hags, that they will not come down the tunnels after us. But we must not take any chances. We should keep running for as long as we can.
She says Dragon Baits, and she looks over her shoulder to see where Dragon Baits at.
No sooner do you get his name out than you find him pretty much running right alongside you. He seems to be keeping the pace pretty well, and You catch a little bit of that scent of brimstone and some hints of violets.
All right. She says to him, "Give me the smell of lemon if we're close, and give me the smell of, I don't know, brimstone. Keep doing that until we get close. Can you do that?"
For a moment, the scent of brimstone gets a little stronger, and then you catch this kind of wafting between lemon and brimstone as he gives you a nod, and then the scent just kind of dissipates a bit. He seems to have understood what you're saying.
Thank you. She keeps running.
And during this time that you guys are running, it's hard to keep track of time in these tunnels. For quite a ways, the tunnels are illuminated by bioluminescence, but it's growing fainter and fainter the further along you go. So anybody that doesn't have dark vision would begin to struggle after a little bit. Unless anybody wants to stop sooner, you guys run for an indeterminate time when you catch a scent of lemon wafting through the tunnel. And Dragonbait kind of in the front of the group, he kind of deliberately slows his pace.
I imagine Cole starts slowing too, and then she instantly grabs one of the rock walls and just hunches over, breathing extremely hard, sweat pouring from her face, because we've been running a long ass time, and random times I imagine full sprint, sometimes not a full sprint. So,
does anybody have any kind of anything that lets them know distances or direction or location? I don't think we have any rangers in the party, so. Well, let's check with...
I think I only have No, it's an orb of time. That's right. I have an orb of time, which means nothing.
Yeah, I think that just tells you...
Although I would make a survival check if necessary.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and do that at disadvantage and see if you can kind of figure out roughly how long you guys have been running.
Alrighty. Big money, no whammies. Oh, wow. Oh, my God. I will... Whoop. God, you know what? This is have you guys ever done that thing where you try and, aim, but you can't really see what you're doing? Needless to say, it's a bloody 19 and a 16. And with my bonus, that makes 19. So...
All right. Yeah, somehow, while you were, this whole time you've been running, you were able to just kind of keep a sense of how much time has been passing. You didn't really participate in any conversations, so you weren't distracted by anything. And you know that you guys were running overall for close to 3 hours. You guys are winded. Everybody, even Salida, is panting, sweating. Fortunately, the caverns have been, pretty smooth floor through these caverns, these tunnels, and like I said, you've been running for about 3 hours. You can actually detect a little bit more of a breeze coming from the direction you're running. That you get the sense, you don't know how far it is, but you get the sense that you're moving towards an exit from these tunnels.
Right. I will let the others know. we keep going that way, we're gonna come out of this tunnel. Oh, I'm glad I didn't have that second helping of snow. Oh, right, it's that way. And I'll just kind of start not trying to run, but running in that way where you're exhausted and you're really just walking.
And Salida is kind of in the same state as Vale. She's just, yes. I think that we are probably, we're close to the mine that the Flaming Fist use from the fort.
The Flaming Fist? Bashaba. If there's Flaming Fist there, they're gonna try and say some bullshit. I can fucking smell it. Because we don't have that paper yet.
That's why we're going to the fort. To get the charter. There's no other way around it. If the Flaming Fist, they run this region. They're the only ones from whom we can get this.
Cole takes a deep drag from her water skin, spits it all out, takes another deep drag, and begins walking slowly towards where the presumed exit is. And she says, well, if we get attacked, Vale, I can hope you can do that glowy sword thing again you did to the scorpions.
Berlinia, where and how are you carrying Ubo?
I think when they started running, he would have been like on her shoulder, but she would have taken him off and was just kind of holding him like how you'd hold a sandwich, just like.
Right. So, Ubo is getting heavy in your hands as you guys have kind of slowed down. And you notice that his little baby sea turtle flippers, you can start to see that they look like little tiny hands and claws. And he's rapidly growing in your hand. And Ubo, you're starting to become more aware. You've kind of been in this weird fog for a while, but you're becoming more aware of the dim surround. Do you have dark vision? Okay, so you become more aware of your very dim surroundings and the heavy breathing of your companions as you begin to grow back into your full self. And after just a few seconds, the rest of you would obviously notice that this large turtle is taking shape in front of you.
Well, you look at that. Little Ubo's all grown up. And what do you want to be when you get to be a big turtle there, eh?
What's your first thoughts upon returning to form, Ubo?
Stab Vale in throat.
Jake, at what point did I turn? Is the last thing Ubo saw was Megan on the ground, basically lifeless? I believe that was the last thing.
It was pretty much right around that time, yeah, because that's kind of where we left off and then Ubo had the residual magic. So yes, one of the last things you saw was Berlinia apparently killed.
Jake?
Did you not hear me?
No, I didn't hear you.
I just said the last thing you saw was Berlinia killed.
No, did we stop running?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, people are kind of shuffling along, but I imagine may have stopped now that you're coming back.
Then I would probably turn to Berlinia, and I would just kind of very quickly kind of look her over, look at her shoulders, look at her arms, look at her legs, kind of put those big toral claws on her shoulders and just kind of spin her around. Maybe lift up her hair just to check the back of her neck and just kind of make sure she was okay. And he was just, you're okay. I thought you were gone. How did you? And then he would look over to his other companions. You kept her safe. I couldn't. Okay. And he would just kind of keep nodding to himself and just kind of mumbling, but just continuing to just look Berlinia up and down, just head to toe, just to make sure that she was okay.
Berlinia would kind of look to Vale and say, Vale saved me.
And I would look over at Vale and just in a very respectful nod, he did. And you would hear just this very, very soft, and I didn't. And I would kind of put my hand just kind of behind your back, Megan, and I would kind of push you towards Vale, just several feet away from me, and just take a couple steps back so that you were kind of standing closer to Vale and I was further away.
Look, come on now. I tell you what, we can all find ourselves a nice tavern when we get to Fort Belwarian. I still think I'm saying that name wrong. But anyway, after we do, we'll find a real nice tavern and we'll all have a very delicious pity party for one. But until then, let's just run out this tunnel into the fort where we don't have to deal with fucking sea hags. And, well, no, the sea hags are enough. Let's just go. We'll run and
Sea
let's
hags.
go there.
They told us to go find that Thomas guy.
Yeah, you know what? They backstabbed us. And wait, Cole, are you ready? You ready? Cole was right. Now let's just go.
I mean, Ubo would still be going. He would just be kind of bringing up the rear, just making sure that just keeping that Megan was staying close to Vale and really not making eye contact with anyone. Just kind of keeping up, but just kind of bringing up the rear.
And so you guys continue running along. And all of you can feel, after just about 10 minutes, you can all feel kind of that and kind of smell that freshness of air from outside. Everything's been kind of damp, mildewy, that underground earthy smell. But you're smelling a little bit more of what you've smelled in the jungle. That mix of lively vegetation with a little bit of decayed undergrowth, flowering plants, that kind of thing. But it's real subtle. And you can see a faint hint of light in the shape of a circle ahead. Will you guys do anything different to modify your pace or anything as you approach this exit? Cole's shaking her head no. So you're just heading, you guys just want out of here. So you guys are trudging along. Cole, you're in the lead, right?
Yeah.
Dragon Bait's kind of right up near you.
And Salida, I imagine.
And Salida's kind of there with Vale and Berlinia, and Ubo kind of bringing up the rear. And as you get close to this, what you can start to see is an opening roughly the size of this cave, which is more or less 10 feet in diameter, a little bit wider here and there. You see that it opens into a brighter section of cave. And as you get about 20 feet away from this entrance, you take one of your as you're running with your gait there, Cole, you feel your ankle catch on something. And you feel it snap. There is a brilliant flash of light, and the entire cave becomes just illuminated like daytime. Everybody can make except for Cole, because you were right there in the face of it. You're going to roll at disadvantage. Everybody else roll me we'll call it a dex save.
17.
Let's see what the others do.
Got a 6.
8 for me.
Nobody makes the save, so you are all temporarily blinded. Yeah, I know you got a 17. You did not make the save.
Sure.
And you can even hear Salida, and you hear a grunt from Dragonbait. As there's just this... It's weird because the only sound you heard was your own running, and you heard something like a thin rope snapping, and then just pure light. There was no other sound to accompany it. No explosion, no popping, nothing. And then there's this moment of scuffling as you begin to collide with one another, as you are all temporarily blinded. And then you can hear everybody, as you guys are all kind of gathering yourself, maybe picking yourself up if you got knocked down. And you can hear your feet and shuffles echoing off the walls and a little just down this other corridor, just past where you were heading. And a few moments later, as your eyesight begins to return, you realize your footsteps and shuffling weren't echoing. It was the sound of what appears to be a dozen other humanoids standing in front of you. Some of them have swords drawn. Some of them have bows or crossbows or daggers. All of them have a weapon of some sort in their hand. And one of them steps forward. He's a tall, probably 6'4" human male, completely bald, has a long blue goatee, and he wears leather armors, has a scimitar at his side. And he steps forward towards you, Cole, the closest. He's the only one that doesn't have a weapon drawn. Right? And who might you be? And you notice he's talking in hushed tones.
Cole is still wiping all the wetness from her eyes. It stings like a motherfucker getting blinded like that. She's cursing herself internally because she tripped a tripwire. The oldest trick in the book for any archaeologist in any dark, dank place. And when he asked her that, she just looks at him squinting, seeing him through blurry vision, and she says, "Who the fuck are you?" Asking his question with a question.
All in due time. I don't think you're in a position where you should be questioning us. You're running through our cave. You're trying to get into our mine. Now I ask you again, and this is the last time I'm going to do it nicely. Who are you?
My name is Cole, which doesn't mean anything to you because you don't know a Cole unless you know a tiefling named Cole, which is me, and you don't know me. And I don't know that this is your mind. We're trying to escape from something. We're not trying to interfere with what other bullshit you have going on down here.
He kind of just listens to you, and he looks back over his shoulders at the rest of his companions. She's got a mouth on her. And then he looks past you. Nah, I should have known. They're with you, eh, Salida? And he gives you this almost disgusted once-over, looking you up and down, Cole, as he says, I should have known. Explorers and adventurers. And not very good ones at that, from what I can see. And behind him, this kind of much smaller, probably 5'2" humanoid, kind of sticks his head out from around this lead guy, and he says, did you see the size of that one there? That's a turtle. He can feed the whole fort. Like, cut him open and boil him in his own shell. We'll have turtle soup for days. Shh. Keep your voice down. Salida. Who are these people, and why are you bringing them here? And Salida kind of steps forward, still rubbing her eyes. That's a long story that we will gladly tell you in the safety of the fort. If we are where I think we are, then the fort cannot be more than a half a day's journey from here. Am I right? Aye. But we've got our own complications. I assume you're taking him to the fort for a charter. That is correct. And he kind of gives a... And all of the people around start to put away their weapons, unnock arrows, sheath swords. And the tall human man with the blue beard, blue goatee, reaches his hand out to you, Cole. Big beefy hand, and he says, we're just watching out for our interests. I am Durgan of the Flaming Fist. This is my patrol.
In Cole's head, she screams. In real life, she takes his hand, and she gives him a curt nod. She says, apologies. It's been a very stressful last couple of days.
Well, I can't promise you that it'll be any less stressful. At least in the immediacy.
And what does that mean?
And he holds up his hand, and he says, wait. Can you feel that? Everybody give me a perception check.
16.
15.
10.
Like 12.
It's actually enough for all of you. And you actually catch that little bit of brimstone smell coming from that brimstone and violet smell coming from Dragonbait, as you all feel, as he says, can you feel that? And there's just this subtle and it's Not that you hear it so much as you feel it, the ground vibrating heavily, almost rhythmically.
What the hell was that?
We haven't got eyes on it yet, but we have our suspicions. Come with me. And he looks around at his guards and he just says, kind of gives a couple hand motions. And they begin to spread out a little bit. A couple of them keep their position where they apparently had been guarding this tunnel. And he motions for all of you to follow. And he says, but you must keep quiet. And he leads you into this next tunnel, which is much wider. And you can see that some of the light is coming from about 50 feet to the left, where there is a partially obscured entrance to a cave. And you can see that's partially obscured by the foliage of the jungle. And this is where he leads you. And the closer he gets to the opening, the softer he steps. And he leads you just maybe about 5 feet into the brush. And he says, he kind of points at his eyes and points off in this direction. And you can hear that here. Now you can kind of hear, but you feel that doo, doo. And you can hear the sound of cracking lumber and rustling brush. And you can see just a couple 100 meters away, the tops of some trees sway. But not like in a wind, unnaturally, like pushed and then snapping back. And you even see one kind of fall over. And you can hear some heavy coming from that direction.
Well, I'm gonna follow and do all the stealth. Stealth for days.
He motions you back, all of you back inside the tunnel. You don't go back into that first tunnel, but he motions you in probably about a good 70, 80 feet. And he speaks very quietly. We've gotten reports from other patrols that there's large creatures that have never been seen in the jungles here. Now, Cholt is a land of dinosaurs, so we're not strangers to large creatures. But there are some that have said that they have come from afar, and they are strangers in this land. And we think they're at our back door. We need to get eyes on them. Blaise Portier at the fort will want confirmation. We were just getting ready to head out and see if we could get visual when you set off our rear warning device. Since you're heading to the fort anyway, it would probably put you in good favor with Blaise Portier if you would come with us and help us to identify this potential threat.
I thank the frost giants.
So you hear some muttering around you. And why the fuck do you say that? This is Cholt.
We met someone who's being hunted by fucking frost giants.
It's true, his name was Pun something. Or his name was a pun. It was something like that. But yeah.
That's an interesting theory. You, Turtle, you look like you want to see something. You're muted.
I have no idea what these people are talking about. Frost giants wouldn't be on this island. They're a little different. But if you need help to find out what the sound is, I don't have anything else to do.
Cole shoots Ubo the dirtiest look that her tiefling face could possibly conjure up. Doesn't say anything, just shoots the look.
I would not look at you at all.
Regardless, we're going to investigate. If you're with Salida, or rather, if Salida's with you, then I can't imagine you're too worthless. And as I said,
With that, you would hear a huge sigh when he said that from Ubo.
and then you would hear, he would say, but as I said, I can only put you in Blaze Porteous good graces if you can be assisting us in confirming this. We'll need to be as quiet as possible, but also be prepared in case whatever it is attacks.
Well, I mean, I'm alright helping. How about the rest of you?
I think Berlinia would look to Cole before she said anything.
Cole looks at, what was his name again, Jake?
Durgan.
Durgan. She looks at Durgan for not very long. It's a very short look. It's a measured look where she's trying to weigh all her options. And she knows that this is, without a doubt, the best option. Because it's really the only option they have where they don't get beaten to death by the Flaming Fist. And where they could possibly get a cheaper charter out of it. So she says to him, give me 5 minutes to take off these scales. Because they're very loud and they will hear me a mile away if I wear them. Referring to her armor.
Take a few minutes and gather your people, and I will gather my people.
You know, to be fair, I mean, it's only right that Berlinia gets to rip your armor off. I mean, I'm just saying. You know,
Phil, sweetie.
Well, you did it to her. I mean, I'm just saying. And no, like Ubo and I can turn our backs to you and all, but I'm just saying, out of all fairness and everything else.
Cole gives you like the most deadpan look she could give. Like if she gave the most tiefling look she could to Ubo, she gives you the most deadpan look she can. Which is just like, I'm not dealing with this shit right now, Vale. And that's what she's thinking. But she just looks at you instead. And then she like does this motion for you to turn around.
Right, fair enough. I'm just saying, it's probably better to do it now.
And if you're wearing any metal armor, Vale, take that off too, because they'll fucking hear it.
Well, I'm not wearing any metal armor. If you can see, I'm wearing leather armor. So
she cracks a smile at that, and then she still motions for you to turn around so she can take the armor off.
I kind of turn around with both hands in front. Hey, Ubo, do you know any music? Do you know any songs to sing or any music you could you know, maybe give Cole a bit of musical accompaniment while she doffs off her armor, yeah?
Your attempt at humor is misplaced. I don't know any songs that would be appropriate for such actions.
I think your shell is made of too much iron. It's not bendable. You're not bendable. You should learn to have fun. Enjoy yourself. Don't be so rigid.
I'll take that under advisement, my friend.
No, you won't. You're just saying that. You probably always say that from the beginning of this adventure to the very end.
And with that, Mike, you would see Ubo, his bright orange cloak that he wears, you would see him take one of those kind of clawed hands, and you would see him. He would very slowly kind of pull it over his shell to his front of him, and he would fold it very, very nicely, and he would actually roll it up and in a very kind of systematic, almost like I don't know, kind of like a ritualistic way, you would see him, just kind of muttering and folding it and rolling it nicely, and then putting it in his pack, and just really not paying you any mind, but just taking off that cloak. It just revealing this his shell you guys had never seen before. It is bright, it is shiny, it is very reflective. Any light that hits it, you'll actually, kind of be like, it's just very, it's very ornate, and it's just very beautiful. Not a scratch on it.
That's all the lady totals liked seeing you come around, huh?
No response.
A piece of a vambrace hits Vale back, like in the back of the head, and then Cole's like, can you throw that back over here, please? I need it.
I'm gonna put it in my bag.
Oh, whatever suits you. And when you turn back around, you see that they are completely clothed, but the armor is nowhere to be seen whatsoever, as if it just simply disappeared.
It's alright, looks like I've got a new vambrace. I like it.
I'll
Make
win
it
it
fit.
from you.
Maybe if I just stretch it out a bit, yeah?
With the vambrace stretcher, is that what you're going to use?
Oh yeah. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I hear Belwarian's got tons of them breastplate stretchers and pauldron stretchers and vambrace stretchers.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you can find any, I will let you keep it.
Hey, if you're done fooling around, and if they haven't heard us already, we need to get out there. Where do you find them, Salida? I hope they're paying you good. She just mutters something in Cholton under her breath.
Probably not enough, but
If you're ready, I'll take the four of you, the Sariel, Salida if you wish. You, and he points to all but about 4 of his own people. He gives some hand signs telling them to kind of spread out. And he just looks at you all and he says, move quietly. Weapons at the ready. We don't know for sure what it is, but if it's what she says it is, we're going to need some way to prove it to Blaze Portia. She's not just going to take our word for it. All right, let's move out. And he begins to lead you back out of the mouth of the cave and in the direction of where you saw the trees shifting and moving around. And I need you all to make a stealth check.
$13.
3.
16.
21.
As you begin walking, you can barely, though you can see them, you can barely hear the members of the Flaming Fist as they move through the brush. Cole, you take 2 steps and kick a coconut. And it goes rolling through the jungle, and before it crashes into a tree, whether on purpose or on accident, Vale Istafal, your foot comes down on this coconut, stopping it from clattering against the tree. That's what a very low stealth roll and a high stealth roll looks like in the jungle. And
Let's keep it up, Mike.
All of the Flaming Fist that were near you, they just kind of look at you, Cole, with this just incredulous look. And Durgan just kind of shakes his head as he turns and motions. As you get in a little closer, I need another stealth roll.
Nat 20.
Unnatural 20.
16.
I got a 13.
It's almost as if Ubo isn't there, as he's just moving so silently as the flaming fist. And the rest of you seem to be able to just kind of push the brush out of the way and step softly. Berlinia struggles a little bit with a couple of the fronds, getting kind of caught in her hair, but a little bit of rustling, but nothing too loud. And in short order, you close in on where this sound was coming from, and you begin to notice that there are obvious signs of crushed vegetation, a couple of trees that are snapped and that lie across the vegetation. The ground covering is mostly underbrush, very little actual earth visible. Anybody who wishes can give an investigation check as you're in this clearing area.
Ubo would not.
Cole has a 13.
Anybody else?
No, I don't. Not his style.
So Cole, as you're kind of scanning, Durgan moves silently, so silently that you didn't hear him approach. And he sees that you're scanning, and he puts a hand on your shoulder, and then he just kind of slightly moves your head, and with his other hand points into the brush to the left of where you were looking. And you can see a very large impression of what looks like a boot print pressing the underbrush down into the earth at least 4 or 5 inches. And this boot print is easily 10 to 15 times the size of any of you.
Would you say it could be not a racially giant footprint, but a giant footprint?
It would indeed be a giant footprint.
She looks back to him and she mouths. She doesn't say, she mouths the word giant. She wants to say asshole too, but she knows that won't be a good thing to say here. But she says giant.
He kind of goes, yeah. Not contesting it. And then he just so quietly that the whisper is barely just his breath. We need proof. You can't take a footprint back to the fort.
You can if you have the right materials to make a casting, but you don't have those to do you.
Do you?
What if we just dig it up?
We can't dig up a footprint.
What do you mean you can't dig up a fucking footprint? It's not all the way down to the fucking bottom of the earth, you know. You just dig around it.
As these guys are talking, you actually, I don't know if you would notice or not, but you actually see Ubo walking forward. He's not staying with you guys. He's going towards the noise, very very stealthily, very slowly, but he's not paying attention to any of you, and he is continuing to walk forward.
I need a stealth check. And, don't tell me you critically failed. I was just about to say, I need it at disadvantage because there is no rain. The sun is shining brightly. And as you said, your shell is bright and reflective. And as Ubo steps silently towards past this footprint. He doesn't make any sound. He moves silently. But he steps into this area where the sunlight is just streaking down through the trees. And it catches his shell. And it refracts the light just for a few moments. Just a couple quick heartbeats. And it's enough to hear. And you see a tree 50 meters away. And then a tree even closer, coming up from the underbrush. You see a large, kind of gray-blue hand reach up to grab the tree. And it grabs hold of this tree like a railing and hoists itself up. As you see before you this blue-skinned, long-bearded, giant man.
Jake, for the record, I actually went scholar with this guy, and one of the languages I took was giant.
Well, then what you heard... Does anybody else speak giant? So
I thought it was random, but apparently it's useful.
So what you just heard was mostly just muttering and kind of the grunting sounds that a large figure makes as they hoist themselves up. But when your shell refracted, what you heard in giant was, "What the bloody fuck is that?"
Ubo would continue to walk towards him.
And you can all clearly see now that about 50 feet away from Ubo, a frost giant standing close to 20 feet tall has pulled himself up, and Ubo appears to be walking toward him.
Cole phrases, and then she says to herself, she asks herself, is he doing the same dumbass thing he tried with the turtle? And she's going to start walking briskly towards Ubo.
I think that while Vale and Cole were kind of arguing, she might have maybe noticed Ubo just kind of walking. And she would have taken like a few steps towards him. But then upon hearing the giant, I think that she would run to where he is. What are you doing?
You need to go back to Vale. He will keep you safe. You don't have to worry about me.
And she would just shake her head and just, what are you talking about?
Ubo he doesn't stop walking, but he just kind of sighs and he says, again, I failed again. There are things you don't know. There are regrets. Some of the things I've said and done. He will keep you safe. I obviously cannot. You need to go to him. This is not a place that you need to be.
What's
Let
your
me do
AC, Vale?
My AC.
No, sorry, not Vale. Excuse me.
Oh.
I'm sorry. Ubo.
Okay,
Are
fine.
you asking Ubo as I'm walking, or
No, I'm asking you, Drake. What is your AC?
17 standard?
Bet. So I have an 18 plus 1, because I have a strength monitor of 1. Cole slaps you in your beak. Snout. Turtle face area thing. And she just stares at you. And she picks up her hand, like, to smack you again, which is why I imagine the frost giant didn't see us before Cole could actually explain herself.
Could I grab Cole's wrist?
Yeah, Cole would let you.
And she would just look at Ubo and she says, I saw. I had a vision with you. I felt your pain. Felt your... I didn't see everything, but this is not something that you need to do now. This is not something that you need to make a decision now. You are making a bad decision that you will regret.
At this point, anybody that happens to be looking at the giant would see that it's pulled itself up to its full height, and its hair is mottled, its beard, it's got bits of brush and even a piece of tree branch sticking in its beard. It's dirty, it's pouring sweat. It's wearing only its animal hide loincloth. Its chest is bare. And it's rubbing its eyes as it's kind of squinting, sweat pouring into its eyes. It's wiping its eyes and looking down at this motley crew of individuals, almost like it doesn't believe what it's seeing.
And with this, Ubo would again say to everybody, please, just take some steps back. Let me talk to it. Let me talk. Can anyone else communicate with this?
If you do some suicidal shit, Ubo, I'm smacking you again.
You assume the negative, my friend. You assume too much. I cannot keep her safe. I know that. But I can. I can do something here. So please, let me go. And Ubo again just keeps walking. If there's no one in his way or stopping him, he's gonna continue to go till he's literally at the giant's feet.
And she'll snap her hand away from Bryn. She won't smack him again, but she will walk right behind Ubo as he walks up.
And yeah, go ahead, Jake.
No, you're able to walk up to the giant. He's still rubbing his eyes and just kind of staring at you like he can't believe what he's seeing. So you have the opportunity, if you wish to say something to him.
Yes, absolutely. I think Ubo would walk up there, and I'm assuming how tall is this guy?
Close to 20 feet.
Okay. And I would get probably 10 feet away and just kind of look up and say, hello. Looking a little warm. Are you okay?
I assume you're speaking in giant?
Yes.
Who is this little turtle that speaks to Humvar?
Humvar. So that's your name. You seem very far from home, my friend.
You are a very observant turtle.
I've been told that. But are you searching for something, or perhaps someone? Because I might have some information if you are thinking about Chultamas. Perhaps an arrangement can be made?
I don't know what Chultamas is. If it is anything to do with this God's forsaken land, I want to tear it apart, rip it apart, and destroy it.
As I am sure you can with your immense size and strength, I have no doubt of that. But are you looking for someone? Someone good with snow, ice, that type of magic? Because we met someone like that not too long ago, and I would be happy to point you in the right direction.
Just to be clear, nobody else speaks giant, correct? So you just hear Ubo's grunting and speaking, and this giant speaking at him. And as you say this, Ubo, he crouches down, takes a knee, and bends his giant face down next to yours.
What do you know, turtle?
So I assume you want a deal then. What's it worth to you for that information? Because I care not if you find him or not. But if it's worth something for you, perhaps I can aid you at least in the direction.
What is your life worth to you, turtle? You are nothing to me.
And my life is worth nothing to me. So in that, we agree. Do what you must. But if you kill me, you will not get the information. I'd like to do like a persuasion.
I was just going to say, at this point, why don't you go ahead and give me some kind of charisma roll?
Yeah, I'll do a persuasion. That was a 17.
I don't know what you're playing at, turtle, but your words mean nothing to me. Tell me what it is that you know. Where is this individual who is good with snow? Tell me, or I will take you back to my vessel, and the Rufy will get it out of you.
As I said, my life has no meaning anymore. You can threaten me with nothing. So if you want the information, we'll make a deal. If you don't, then just kill me now. Without regret. And then Ubo actually stands there with his arms out, like this.
Give me another persuasion.
14.
If you truly know where I can find this man, you tell me, and I will... What is it you want?
Simply a token. Something to remember this meeting, this amazing meeting of someone of your immense size, and I never want to forget. I just want something of yours, something that I can keep with me, and I will happily point you in the right direction. And I don't know what's on there, Jake, or what I can take from him, or what I can get, but whatever would make sense as proof.
I would think that the turtle would take the fact that it is still living as token enough of this encounter with Amvar. Tell me what it is you wish, and you shall have this.
And he reaches and pulls what in his hand is a dagger, or a smallish dagger in his hand, and he thunks it down in the ground next to you. And this thing is the size of a greatsword, though balanced for a dagger.
Okay. I would say that would be perfect. And I would kind of extend my hands out, and I would begin to speak. I would say, and again, I would just pick a general direction that I would hope it would be in. I would say, go directly there. You will find a beach, and on that beach you will find 3 beautiful women. And those beautiful women will tell you exactly where he is. They tried to tell us, and we found him, and we let him go, but there were tunnels, and there were nowhere that you would fit. But these women know him, and they will bring him out for you. And I'm sure, even if they don't want to cooperate, you could make them talk. Someone of your immense size and strength certainly would have no trouble with 3 little women. Another persuasion or performance or deception?
Give me a charisma roll. Use whatever you're using.
17.
What is your name, Turtle?
My name is Ubo.
And that would probably be the first thing that the rest of you have understood in this entire conversation, as Durgan and the rest of the Flaming Fist are standing by just kind of looking like incredulously. And this frost giant who's been kneeling down stands up, and he kind of stands on his tiptoes, looking in the direction you pointed. And then he says, Ubo. And then he bends down again.
Ubo, I have your scent. If you have misled Humvar and the Frost Giant Enclave, I will find you in these jungles. I will split your shell open, and I will eat you while you still live. You be sure to tell your friends that you bought their life today.
I certainly shall. Happy hunting.
And he stands back to his feet, and he looks down at the rest of you. And he mutters in broken common,
I hate this fucking jungle.
And then he spits the size of 10, seemingly like 10 gallons of water, landing off to the side in the jungle, knocking over bushes. And he looks back in the direction you indicated, Ubo. But then he turns to the east, because it would have been the west you were pointing. He turns to the east, and he begins trudging through the jungle, back through where there's broken vegetation and trees. And he begins moving around. At your back, where you've come out of this cave, is a small rise of mountain. And he begins moving around, circumnavigating the northern edge of this, where he seems to have come from. And you just hear him muttering curses about the jungle and talking turtles. And before you is the Frost Giant's dagger that is the size of a greatsword. What do you tell, or what do you say to the others?
Well, I think first Ubo would absolutely just, as the giant, like you would see him kind of tense most of that conversation. And as the giant drops the dagger and starts going in, I realize that he's walking away. You would hear just an audible, and you would see that tension just kind of leave Ubo's body. And he would look back at his companions, and I kind of grab that sword, and he would just kind of throw it on the ground towards them. He would say, "Here's your proof. I'm glad I could do something."
How do the rest of you react to this?
Well, I think the first thing that Vale would do is pretty much unclench everything. Because, I mean, if I swallowed coal, I really could have made diamonds. Just realized that came out a whole fuck ton worse than I actually thought it had. Huh.
Gonna swallow coal.
Ah! I'll let Bryn go before Cole does.
Okay. Other than that, I'll look to Ubo, and then Berlinia, and then Cole, and then back, and then just keep looking at everyone. Like, what are we doing? We gonna attack this dude? Are we gonna run away? Are we gonna attack then run away? Because all I could hear was the grunting.
And then Ubo would say, I've sent him to the beach. I told him to find the hags. If nothing else, maybe they can kill one another. But he will find me. When all this is over, he will find me, and all of you need to stay far away. But for now, I will get you to the fort.
Bryn would look to Cole and just kind of say, well, are you going to hit him again? Or should I?
Cole's staring at Ubo. She opens her mouth to say something, closes it, looks to Bryn, looks back to Ubo, and then she looks down to the giant dagger. She puts her boot onto the blade and she says to herself, this belongs in a museum, but I guess for Durgan it will satisfy, yeah? And she is ignoring Ubo for right now and the problem that is Ubo and this supermassive black hole that is a chip on his shoulder.
And you would see Durgan and several of the other Flaming Fist have basically just been staring like this the whole time. Like they're just mouth agape in awe at the fact that Ubo walked up to a frost giant and talked it into leaving. And then Durgan kind of snaps out of it and he says, I think the Blaze will be pleased to see this, yeah? As long as we don't run into any more of them, we can be back to the fort before nightfall. And you, and he walks over to Ubo, and he throws an arm over the back of your shell and around you, and he says, the first jug of Tej is on me. And he starts laughing. And then everybody just kind of starts, the rest of the Flaming Fists gather up, and they say, we can be there in just a few hours if you're ready to go. So unless anybody wants to hold up, you guys can continue on to the fort.
Of note is that Cole will be silent the entire time.
Same thing with Ubo. He'd be looking squarely down at his feet the whole time.
So you make the journey through the jungle.
As we're walking, I would just say to Berlinia, have you noticed, Brill? It's gotten really nice and quiet around here. Yeah? It's like peaceful. It's almost serene. Lets you really enjoy the beautiful surroundings of the forest and, well, jungle and whatnot.
Berlinia would snort, but then immediately just... Yeah, it's kind of nice.
Yeah, it is. Hey, so when this is all done, yeah, like, we save the really rich person and bring everyone back to being able to die multiple times. God, they really have to work on that one, don't they? Yeah. But what would you plan to do? I mean, like with all your money, and I mean, obviously, we'd be showered with gold and gems and jewels and all sorts of riches. What would you do?
And at that, Berliner would kind of like furrow her eyebrows and just kind of look up at the sky. And to be honest, I haven't really thought that far ahead.
No? You gotta have a plan. Me? I've got a plan.
What
I'm
do
gonna take all my riches and I'm gonna travel to all the little towns that I've visited on my way down here on the journey, yeah? And what I'm gonna do is every person who stopped to give me shelter or let me work for a few coppers, I'd give them money. And whatever money I'd have back, I'd want to settle in a little village. Just me and I want to raise some bees.
bees?
Yeah. Okay, I tell you what. Show of hands, those of us who are still talking, who here likes honey? Who here doesn't like honey?
I
See?
like honey.
There you go.
You can't
There you
have
go.
Tej without honey.
Exactly. I mean, come on. Honey in your boiled oats. Honey in mead. Yeah. Honey in your tea cakes. Honey in your bread. Everyone likes honey. And bees are nice. They're not like wasps. Wasps are right bastards, but bees are really, really nice. And I want to try different things, growing different flowers and seeing if I can change how the honey tastes and, just live a life of peace, but make honey because everyone likes honey. And everyone just needs a plan, yeah? And that's my plan. So you can't have it.
That's a great plan.
It is a great plan. And I get to have all the honey I can ever have.
Yeah. That's a great, yeah.
Well, I mean, I might need some help. And if you've got nothing better else to do, I mean, you can come visit, send you off with some honey and some honeycomb and, I don't know, like a bee for a pet or something. I mean, they're doing crazy things with magic nowadays. I mean, making bees all big and you can probably fly them.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine the flaming fist flying on bees through Chult.
Right. Just don't fly over any flower fields. I'll probably just do a tumble. Hit the ground and just want to cover their legs in all the pollen and whatnot, yeah? So are you two done being twats? And I'm just going to talk to both Cole and Ubo. Or Kubo. We'll just mash your guys' names together.
What exactly is a twat?
Nope.
Do not.
Nope.
Do not.
Nope.
No.
Nope.
About a half a dozen of the flaming fists just start giggling, snickering.
Nope. Not biting. Not biting. I mean, metagaming, Drake. I'm not biting.
Well, then, I guess with that, Ubo would just kind of shrug and just kind of shake his head.
And before long, you find yourself emerging from the jungle to see the actual fort itself. The trees have been cleared for probably 50 feet or more all the way around the structure.
wooden palisades all the way around the fort. The direction you're approaching from, you can see immediately in front of you a tall keep kind of rising a couple stories up. The whole thing sits up on this 10-foot hill that the sides have been cut so that they're vertical. They're making them very steep, difficult to climb. And Durgan kind of says, the main entrance to the fort is the gate from the west side. But we're going to go in through the ore gates right up here. Just stick close and don't say much until we get inside. We'll find Blaze Portia and introduce you, and we'll see what she wants to do with you. And as you head towards this smallish gate set into the southern wall, there's a section where the steep walls are kind of slanted down, so there's a slope upwards to this gate. And Durgan calls up, "Oi!" And he gives a couple sharp whistles. And you see a couple guards from the palisade wall looking down. You can see all along the wall that there's guards that are actively patrolling. And from inside the gate, you hear some kind of barring mechanism removed. And then the gate swings open, revealing the inner area. As you're coming in kind of from the south, you are led through an area of probably, well, I don't know. I'll let you react how you would to it. One of the first things you see when you walk in is you see a set of lists, a jousting field. A small set of stands are set up. There is a list with the fence down the middle and a neatly raked jousting field.
What's that then?
I don't think Ubo would even be looking up. He'd be looking at his feet the whole time.
Well, you guys have tournaments here?
That we do. Once a
Wait.
month.
Wait. Well, we've never seen horses here. So what, you do jousting off of well, thunder lizards or dinosaurs or whatever you call them?
Look at the size of the list there. That's not big enough for dinosaurs. No,
So
we've
what,
got,
you actually-
we've got the stables here. We've
Oh,
got
you actually...
we've got horses here at the fort. That's, well, they're pretty much useless in the jungle. But some of the folks, some of the troops brought them down from Boulder's Gate with them. Just couldn't leave them behind. So we have tournaments at least once a month. Breaks up the monotony. But I guarantee you, if you happen to be around during a jousting tournament, it's not like anything you've seen in the north.
Well, are they upside down? Do the riders carry the horses and the horses got the lances in their teeth? Is it something like that? That'd be funny.
You're a funny guy. I don't understand half of what you say, but you make me laugh.
It's fair, I guess.
And he continues walking. He kind of points and he says, "Over there's the barracks. That's the jousting fields." Immediately, you kind of walk right near a building. He says, "That's the provisioner." And he stops and he looks at all of you in turn. And he says, "You're not allowed in there. That's for fist members only." And then the next building you walk by, you would hear perhaps familiar sounds of snorting and whinnying as you walk past the stables where the horses are kept. You can see that there are a couple of riding horses in stalls, and there are war horses, large, beefy war horses in there. And then there's 3 empty stalls as well. So he continues to lead you around. And then he leads you through another gate as you begin heading toward the inner bailey and the large structure that you saw from outside. And as you get into the inner courtyard, before you even get to the inner bailey, and you can see just kind of the central thoroughfare that leads east to west from this gate and extends west to where the front gate would be, that there's actually a small bazaar here. A few merchants have set up tents. It's near the end of the day, so some of them are closing them down. And Durgan just explains that we have some merchants here as well. You know, we need to get our provisions. They kind of rotate through, so you never know what you'll find here. And then he turns as you start to go through this gate, and you hear a woman's voice say, Durgan, I'd begin to fear that you wouldn't be coming back. And you see a human woman in armor with white robes kind of coming off of it. She carries herself like a seasoned veteran. And he kind of steps toward her and he gives a salute. And he says, Blaze Portia, it was difficult, but it was as you suspected. Frost giants. They are here in Chult. You see her shaking her head at him, and she just kind of, I've told you this. I can't just go on rumors. Have you brought me proof this time? I've brought you more than proof. I brought you a few strays, and based on what I've seen, they might be worth keeping around. You, Turtle, come here.
And Ubo would very slowly kind of lift his head and, slowly walk forward.
The rest of you, come here and present yourself before Blaze Portia.
I'll walk up.
Yeah, Cole walks up, gives her a bow.
Yeah, Melinia would walk up and go to, kind of curtsy with her robes, but realize she doesn't have any robes.
To drive that point into Cole.
But so she would do this awkward thing.
I would just have a half-cocked grin on the face and bow and quickly.
Greetings. I am Blaze Ileana Portia. I am the leader of Fort Beluarian. I run the entire battalion of Flaming Fists that patrols all of Chult here. Durgan here tells me you've got some proof that frost giants are in Chult. What have you, Master Turtle?
Could we really have kept this out of sight? I mean, you said it's like a greatsword.
Well, how are you carrying it?
Well, I actually threw it on the ground. I'm not carrying it. I threw it on the ground in front of everyone else.
I just assumed the Flaming Fist would just take a bunch of ropes and drag it all the way back.
Well, yeah, then I guess I just assumed you were carrying it. So, yeah, absolutely. Some of the fists, the lower grunts would have. There'd probably be 4 of them that have looped some ropes around it and are kind of carrying it. And he kind of gives a couple quick whistles and says, I don't know if you're going to believe this or not, but the turtle man here talked this out of the giant. And he threw it to the ground, turned and walked away into the jungle. They all saw it. They can corroborate it. But this should be proof enough for you. As they bring it forward and they lower it down onto the ground, she walks around it. Completely walks around it. Hands clasped behind her back. And do we know why the frost giants are here? You, Master Turtle. Master Turtle. What is your name?
My name is Ubo. But you shouldn't ask me that question. You should ask, and he would turn and he would look at Cole. This one is the one that has all the information that you could need. This is the one that speaks for us.
Very well. You, Tiefling.
Blaze.
You can call me. You can call me Liara. You are not one of my fists.
Liara, then, as you say. We were going through the jungles. We were on our way here to the fort. We got lost on our way here due to a storm that rolled through, and our guide, Solita, here momentarily got confused. We got lost in Grung territory, and there we were attacked by the frost giants the first time. They killed most of the Grungs. We escaped into the tunnels the Grungs were living in at the time, and we made our way all the way here, or at least close to here.
And when was it that you encountered Durgan's patrol? You're muted.
We encountered Durgan's patrol literally hours ago before we were recruited to see what was trudging through the forest. I told Durgan that it was probably a frost giant. He said, "Why the fuck would I think it's a frost giant?" It was a frost giant, needless to say.
And it would appear you have proof that the frost giants are here.
Yep.
But Durgan says that the turtle here spoke with the frost giant. What did he say?
You know, your guess is as good as mine, Liara. I don't speak giant. I speak a few languages, but not that one in particular, so whatever he said to the giant, it sure as hell worked.
I told him what I had to tell him to get your proof. You want all of this information. You have everything you need. Do you need us for something else, or can we go?
Forgive the turtle. He's very cranky lately.
This isn't about forgiving the turtle. Can we go?
Brandon, please take him out of here.
Bryn just like looks from Cole to Ubo and
seeing her confusion, Ubo would just literally basically turn his back on this person and just walk back down to wherever they came from, the main part of the fort, looking for the bar, the tavern, whatever you want.
Well, right now you're in kind of a courtyard in front of outside, kind of like it's an inner bailey, or rather the courtyard before the bailey. It's about probably 60 feet square, and the gate has closed. So you're kind of in this enclosed area.
Is there a gate that would be leading into the fort?
Towards the fort, there's a gate. There's a couple of guards standing there.
Then, right before I turned, I would say, look, we have done your group a service. Let us in. Give us what we need. We will be out of your hair.
Master Turtle. Master Tortle. I am appreciative of the proof you have brought us. But do not for one moment think that you have done me any favors, or that I am in your debt. Right now, you stand in the midst of my battalion, in my fort. I control all of Baldur's Gate's interests throughout all of Chult. Presumably, your original intent in coming here is for a charter of exploration, which under normal circumstances I am inclined to give for a small fee. In abnormal circumstances such as this, I am inclined to waive that fee in gratitude for certain services. However, I am not inclined to accept unrepentant, well, just plain rudeness. You're being a bastard, if I may be so bold. We have only just met. And
Yeah,
I am
Liara, if
willing
I
to
may.
see to you and your companions' needs. But I must warn you. If you continue to approach not only my fort, but the jungles beyond, and who knows what dangers you will face in your adventures. If you wish to survive them, you will need to keep your attitude in check.
After hearing that, Ubo would kind of have a little smile. And he would just repeat what she said. If I plan to survive them.
Great. Another one with a death wish.
Please forgive the turtle. It's been a very long few days, Liara. As I'm sure you, as a member of the Flaming Fist, can understand, Chult is not kind to foreigners. Even if you're a turtle, it's not kind to you whatsoever. So, but yes, we have come here for the charter. That's what we wanted. Everything else that has happened between leaving the port and getting here has been... It's been bad for us, basically. So, again, I'm sorry. Again, I beg your forgiveness, Liara. But now you understand the reason why we're here.
It does not escape my notice that you are new here in Chult. You wear on you your lack of experience with the jungles. It wears on you very obviously. But this will go away with time. You are welcome to the amenities here at the fort. You are welcome to find rest here at the fort. And you will have your charter of exploration.
We promise.
At no cost.
Thank you. We promise to conduct ourselves accordingly. And let us hope we can put this bit behind us. It's an honor to be within your walls, and we thank you for your service. Hopefully, when we speak again, it will be under better terms.
It's good to see that at least some among you have a degree of degree of decorum. Perhaps eventually you shall bring the rest of you into line. In the meantime, beyond the Charter of Exploration at no cost, I will have that delivered to you in short order. I must express my gratitude for verifying that there are indeed frost giants here in Cholt. Should you encounter any more of these, you're going to need whatever help you can get. And she holds up a hand, and an aide comes running from off by the door to the inner bailey. And she says, "Go to my office, get a signed charter, and in the chest in the storeroom, bring me that bundle. Now, you are free to stay here for the next day or so. However, there is no monetary cost, but your services may be called upon again. As you may already have heard or may not, Cholt abounds in undead. There are ghouls, goblins, ghosts, zombies in particular. But I particularly hate ghouls. Keep your eye out for ghouls. Bring me their heads, and I will pay you for them. I may have other tasks I would call upon you for, but as I can tell that you are weary from your day's travels, you look as though you could use a good night's rest in what passes for a comfortable bed. And I would invite you to stay here in the Bailey. We have guest rooms, guest accommodations. I will give you a couple hours to clean yourself, attend to your gear, and I will invite you to sup within my garrison this evening, where perhaps we can talk some more. And her aide comes running breathlessly up to her. He's holding a rolled up piece of paper. And he's holding a bundle of leathers wrapped up and tied with twine. And she hands the paper, takes the paper from the aide, and she hands it to you, Cole. She kind of rolls it open so you can see it. And it is a signed charter of exploration. She says, if you should encounter any Flaming Fist patrols while you are traveling through our territories, you show them this charter, and you shall proceed unmolested. However, while the charter itself is freely given, be sure to read the terms of the charter. This charter grants you freedom of movement throughout my lands. However, it is also, by accepting it, an agreement that you will split your monetary gains with us. Is that understood?
What's the split?
What is the split? The split is... Hold on. The split is, of course, 50%.
Okay. Do you have someone in the fort, or do your men know how to appraise items, or are we just trading things blindly?
My Flaming Fist patrols are educated enough to determine whether or not you are in need of revisiting the fort for assessment and payment.
She looks at Durgan and Durgan's men. Then she looks back at her and she's like, "Oh, okay."
Just be thankful that you have the charter with you. Now, as a show of good faith and appreciation for what you have done in identifying the threat of the frost giants, you will need these if you encounter any more. These are all that I have to give. And she hands you this wrapped bundle. This leather-wrapped bundle is probably about this big around and probably about 18 to 24 inches in length. And it's wrapped with twine, or tied with twine. You can open it now if you wish, or you can hold on to it. She hands it to you, Cole.
Open sesame.
Opening it, you find inside 5 arrows.
Of slang, perhaps? Maybe. Legendary items, my level 2 character.
She says, "These arrows will give any archer an advantage versus any enemy. And they are particularly useful against creatures that have magical immunities. And mechanically, you have been given 5+1 magic arrows."
Dope.
So whoever's keeping track of that, make sure you write that down.
She would wrap them up. And does Vale have a bow?
Does anybody have a bow?
Don't think so. So she looks over to Vale, who would be most likely to be able to. She looks at you and says, "You can shoot an arrow, right? You hunt like rabbits and deer and things, right?"
Oh, what? Because I got pointy ears, and suddenly I'm like really good with a bow. Wow.
Yeah.
What a bitch.
So what? You can't shoot a bow at all?
Well, I mean, probably, maybe. I mean, what? You pull back on the stringy bit, and you point the business end at something you want dead, and you just, don't know, let it go.
All right,
right?
Don't waste these. And she kind of like she hits you in the chest with a bundle of magic arrows and waits for you to take them.
And Durgan just kind of leans over Vale as you're given this bundle and says, "Tomorrow, I could take you to see Corey Donadrew, the fort armorer. At least one of you should have a bow."
Suppose. I'm guessing probably a short bow. I mean, given the thickness of the jungle around here.
Short bow, long bow, whatever it is you wish. In the meantime, they'll show you to your room. And Liara Portier says, "Somebody will fetch you when it is time for dinner. In the meantime, you may see to your personal needs, and you will be taken to your rooms." And the aide takes you, all of you, and starts to lead you into the inner bailey. And Durgan says, "Wait, one moment." And he goes running out through the gate back into the fort area. And you see him kind of dodge around to the side. And it's only about 2 or 3 minutes later, he comes running back. And he says, runs up to you, Ubo. And he says, "I made a promise. And Durgan keeps his promises. And we'll definitely drink more together tonight at dinner. But here is that first pitcher of Tej that I promised you." And he hands you what looks kind of like a large hollowed gourd that's corked. and it's full of Tej, honeyed mead.
And Ubo would take it and down it as quickly as he could. Just completely down it and just maybe give a little bleh at the end, just a little burp.
And Durgan's eyes grow wide. And then he claps you on the back of the shell as he says, I knew we were going to be friends. And begins leading you inside to the main inner bailey. And that's where we're going to end. Damn, Drake trying to instigate TPK.
I wanted the verbal beatdown.
Well, okay,
Oh,
so
man.
I have an idea with this guy, and if you had pressed it, we would have gotten a lot more.
Nah, at the start of next session, Ubo's getting the verbal ass whooping of the century, my guy. All right, there will not be another verbal ass whooping as big as what Cole gives to you in this entire campaign.
And guys, I'm sorry it was a little bit slower because of that, and Ubo was doing that, but there was a reason for it. You'll just find out hopefully soon.
Everything's moving at the pace that it needs to move at. The story's unfolding at the way that it needs to move. So technical glitches aside, I'm gonna keep working on seeing what I can do to make this better, so we don't have such a we got a half-hour start late. So thank you for everybody's patience in getting started. Thank you again to Marquise from A Point of Inspiration, Megan from Dice on Ice, Drake from the RPG Construct, and Mike the Piper. All of their Twitter handles are in their little character tags, and be sure to check them out, follow them, and see what they're all up to individually. And we will see you here again next week at 8:30 on twitch.tv/mini terrain domain for MTD&D's Jolt of Personality, a Tomb of Annihilation campaign. I almost forgot. See, I butchered it. It's been so long since I've done it. Let's try this again.